What is up, everybody? Back with our video today. I'm talking about if Anthony Edwards is the future of the Timberwolves or not. So make sure you guys stay around for this one, and please leave a like. That really helps out these videos. But let's dive right in. It's really convenient that I'm doing this right after his last 42-point game, and I say last because he also had a 42-point game against the Suns, and that was a few months ago, back in March, I believe. And he's just coming off in our Rookie of the Month. They're not gonna do one for May because there's barely gonna be any games here in May for them to basically award off if they could, and I think Ant would win it again for sure for the Western Conference at least. But yeah, Anthony Edwards again has another phenomenal game. To talk about that game a little bit more, he broke some records in the NBA and tied some for the Timberwolves last night. He became the youngest player in NBA history to make 150 career three-point field goals. He also tied the Timberwolves franchise record with with 8 three-point makes in a game, which is pretty sweet. But let's get on to this whole Anthony Edwards, the future of the Timberwolves aspect of the video. So the Timberwolves, they have a very bright future in their hands if they play their cards right, which, knowing the history of this team, it's really hard to confidently say that we could, put all these cards in the right spots and, do well. But look at the players that we got. Karl-Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Jim McDaniels, Jalen Noel, Malik Beasley, Naz Reid, and yes, Anthony Edwards. And is just 19 years old. Keep in mind, he is younger than guys like Cade Cunningham, Jalen Suggs, and Evan Mobley. And those three dudes are coming into the draft this year. He's a little younger than all of them. He's not like a half a year younger than them. He's probably just a few months younger than them, maybe even a few weeks younger than a few of them too. But he's younger than a lot of those guys. Same with LaMelo Ball. Both those dudes are both a lot younger than most of the rookies. He hasn't really seemed to hit that rookie wall yet this season, and he's consistently been trying to get better every game, and it's really paying off. There was worry before the draft about Ant's motor playing basketball, and there was, rumors that he wasn't committed. There was rumors that he didn't like basketball. There was that comparison in everybody's head that he was the next Wiggins 2.0. Even if me personally, I didn't agree that he was the best prospect, I knew that some of those things were not true. I still thought he was going to be an all-star caliber player that could become an elite player in the future. Even if I didn't think that he was the number one prospect, I still thought he wasn't going to be that Wiggins 2.0, and he's really proving everybody wrong so far. Efficiency has been one of the big things for him this year, but he's just shown tremendous, promise, and that he's going to get a lot better in the future. In his last 30 games, this is not a small sample size, by the way. 30 games by no means is a small sample size. So in the last 30 games, Anthony Edwards has shot 44% from the field and 35% from deep. From a rookie, a 19-year-old kid who's gone through a lot this season, those are pretty good numbers in my opinion. Obviously, I wouldn't want those to be his career numbers because those are below average numbers. But he's going to continue to build off that. Like, if he kept that going for the full season, that's a different story. But this is a 30-game span. We've played a little over 60 games, so that first half is kind of what's bringing down his season totals, because his season total for three-point percentage is about 32, and then his field goal is about 40. I'm assuming that will go up a little more with the 6 games that we have left, depending on how he plays, obviously. But this 30-game span he's had, especially under Chris Finch, has been really good. The physical tools he brings as a 19-year-old kid is generational. You just don't see people coming to the NBA like him. You really don't. A 6'5", 235-pound guard, maybe 6'6". I don't really know too much about his official height. We'll see next season what he's at. But his last, his height and weigh-in was 235 pounds and 6'5". That's pretty insane. You just don't see people like that whatsoever. He's getting past guys and bullying guys a decade older than him constantly every single game, and he's doing it many times a game. One of his best skills is driving to the basket like a train and plowing people over and getting good calls. Most of the time, he's still getting that rookie treatment. He's not getting calls. I'm fine with some of the no calls, though. I'm personally a fan of contact happening under the basket with no calls. Is just depending on what it is. Like if somebody slaps somebody's arm fully, that's definitely a foul. But I'm fine with light contact. I really hope the NBA can go back to some form of that, because they're kind of, becoming softer and softer by the year, it seems like. And he's gone through a lot this season. You're talking about a kid who he had to undergo a whole coaching change that kind of changed up his play style a lot. His first coach, Ryan Saunders, just he coached him absolutely horribly. Just wasn't working out for him. And he also had only 11 days of training camp. And by the way, this is for all rookies this year. They all had to go through a harder time. Only 3 preseason games. And not to mention, the biggest thing, in my opinion, was the non-summer league. And in the summer league, it's the best young guys in the world coming together. The best, like, first and second year NBA players. I mean, sometimes some teams are going to send, say LeBron James comes into the league. He's not going to play the summer league year 2 because of how good he is. Like, you don't want to risk injuries to that extent. But you're playing some of the best young kids in the world that are in the NBA. That's a big breakthrough phase, and there's a lot of usual preseason games. They only had 3 this year, so there just wasn't too much of that to break through. And then under Ryan Saunders, in those first, I would say, 20 games of the season, he was shooting maybe 33% from the field. That was his breakthrough phase. Now he's past it, and he's shooting pretty efficiently. He's actually shooting better from the field this year than D'Angelo Russell. If you take his last 30 games, that is. Overall, he's shooting a little worse if you take all of his games. But if you exclude the start of the season, he's shooting better from the field than D'Lo. I bet a lot of people are questioning if I'm going to mention Karl-Anthony Towns as the franchise player in this video. And yes, I think Towns is a franchise player that can lead your team in the playoffs and possibly could lead him to a championship. But we all know this isn't a center-driven league anymore. Of course, you have 2 of the top MVP candidates being centers in this league. The Sixers, I would consider contenders. I think Joel Embiid is a phenomenal team around him, and then Jokic, he's going to win MVP for sure, in my opinion. I might put out a video, actually, about my award predictions. You'll have to wait for that. Hopefully I can get one of those going, because that'll be, probably a few months here. But Jokic is going to win MVP. I could see them getting out of the first round, depending on who they play, but I don't exactly know who they're going to play. But obviously, it's not a center-driven league anymore. It's mainly a big guard wing league, and those dudes are getting you championships. Plus, it's a lot easier to play offensively when you're a guy who isn't a paint-first scorer. Like Anthony Edwards is always trying to score outside first. The paint scoring is the second thing for him. Karl-Anthony Towns, he's a guy who's getting constantly doubled every single possession of the paint. It's a lot harder to get your own shot when you're constantly doubled. That's why Towns is going to move into more of a playmaking role while still getting about 25 points per game. Maybe he even gets higher than that. I could see Towns maybe getting up to like 28 range. The reason why I don't say much higher than that is because of, who's on his team and who's going to want to take up shots. So to wrap that up, I think as a wing player, overall, Anthony Edwards, in my opinion, is a lot more potential than Towns. That's why I think he could also be the main franchise player soon. And I'm not saying he's going to be the franchise player next year or maybe even the year after that. We're talking multiple years down the road. Like, you're telling me this kid is 19 years old. Where is he going to be in 5 years from now? You just got to picture that in your head. That's half a decade. Where is this kid even going to be in a decade? Like, if we're talking 10 years from now, take your own age. I'm personally 15 years old. If I had 10 years to my life, I'm going to be 25 in 10 years. I'm going to be out of college by then. That is a long ways away. I cannot imagine where Anthony Edwards is going to be in 10 years from now. Plus, in 10 years from now, Anthony Edwards around 29 years old, that's about his peak. 29 years old for the general NBA player is about the peak range. So you're going to tell me this kid is probably not going to hit his peak for another 10 years? That is insane. Next year, I do predict Towns is going to be a guy who finishes top 8 for MVP votes based off what I've seen from some of the centers this year. Jokic and Embiid have proved to me that the center is going to be valued at a higher rate in these MVP conversations, which is awesome. And I do predict the Timberwolves will make the playoffs next year if we are healthy. I got to emphasize that if big time because you never really know. But my hope is that Ant keeps putting in the work. That's really the biggest thing that's standing in the way. Because, there's still that motor question, but I don't really have the motor question for him at all. I think he's got a really good motor, and I think he's going to continue to work really well. I don't even think anybody should have that question about him. It's just we got to see it happen first. And we've been seeing it happen. We just want to see an off-season of massive improvement. In one of his latest interviews he had with the Timberwolves press, he said he's not telling anybody what he's going to be working on, and he's going to show up as like this new person and stuff. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what he works on. I hope he comes back and just, is more of an improved version of himself. I would love to see more efficient splits, even though they're not really a problem based off the last 30 games. If he can shoot 46% from the field and like 36% from three, that is absolutely insane and way above expectations in my opinion. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and a big thank you to the people who are still listening right now. I'm planning to maybe even drop a mock draft again this weekend. We'll see when I drop that, maybe in a few days, but that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.